We're Victoria and James, and we own a vintage and antique shop called the Little Chapel in Whitchurch, Hampshire, England. Join us on our adventures as we go treasure hunting for items to sell in our shop. We chat to other local small businesses and gradually learn more about the heritage and history of our wonderful country. We'll give you a sneak preview of what we find and show you what it's like to run a small business in the wonderful world of vintage and antiques.
Hello. So I'm here with my good friend Jo South, who's a local artist and illustrator, and we are lucky enough to stock a lot of Jo's work in our shop. And this is Eddie. Hello. Say hi, Eddie. And we're going to have a look at some of Jo's work and talk about her process and things today. So I hear, Jo, that you've done a Jane Austen trail print, a special one. How did that come about?
Well, as your viewers may know, that it's coming up to the 250th anniversary of Jane Austen's birth this year.
Yeah.
And she was born in Steventon, which is another village just down the road. And there is a project team based in Overton called the Overton Jane Austen Trails, because she used to go to Overton a lot.
Yeah.
And Overton is also mentioned in a lot of her letters. And so there's a lot in this area that is very relevant to Jane Austen, but people don't really know about it.
No.
So a project team was started, and they managed to get funding to try and promote a trail, and they developed two walking trails actually, one just around Overton and one between Overton and Steventon. And they commissioned me to do the illustrations for the walking trails.
So you've done two, yeah, that's amazing.
Two trails,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the trails is it's not just about locations, it also takes you around where there are certain events that happened as well that she might refer to in letters, things that are relevant to her life. So it's not just about this is the house and this is the church. There's different things that happened and that she would have walked in. So areas that she would have known really well.
Yeah, yeah. And they're quite nice walks too, like not too strenuous.
Yeah, well, in fact, one of them, the big one, the Overton to Steventon, is a walking trail, but there's also a cycle trail on it. So the cycle trail is longer.
Yeah.
9-mile walking trail, 12-mile cycle.
Wow.
So yeah, a bit longer. And the one round Overton village isn't as big, obviously. And there's loads of places to stop for coffees and
exactly.
beer and cake. So that's a really lovely one to do. Yeah.
Oh, perfect assignment for summer. So, Jo, you were commissioned to do the artwork, and then they used that for the trail brochures.
Yes.
But you also sell the prints, don't you?
Exactly.
Which is what we have some of Jo's prints in the shop already, but also the trail ones are going to be on sale. So, well, you're selling them already, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
We need to get some in our shop.
You do, yeah. I can deliver some.
yeah.
So you can have them if it shows the kind of the story of the area. So it's nice. You can have it yourself on your wall, and they're all G-clay prints. So they are kind of high res, museum grade inks and paper. So they should last.
Nice.
As long as her stories.
If you do, no, that's nice. Are you doing them in different sizes as well?
Yeah, I've got them in 2 different sizes. I've got them in this size.
Yeah.
So, for example, that's kind of 40 by 50, and
That's
also
nice, all mounted,
the size
really.
of the ones that you've already got, like the watership down ones.
Yeah.
So 2 sizes.
Perfect. Beautiful. So, Jo, do you fancy telling us all about what your process is and how you end up with this?
With the final thing.
Yeah.
So I guess you start off with thinking what needs to go in.
Yeah.
And I did work very much with the team on that. They had historians and Jane Austen enthusiasts and fans, so they knew everything that needed to go in, and they wanted it to be as historically accurate as possible. So if there are buildings that they know Jane would have known and were around that time, they're included. If there's anything that they weren't sure about, that isn't included. So everything that is in the picture is authentic. So we had a list of buildings, locations, the roads that we wanted in, the various landscape items like flashets, which is a big water area, or fields, but also characters and certain events. So we had a list of everything that needed to go in. And then I need to think, how does that translate into an illustration, a pictorial representation of all of that? Also in a format that is accessible to have, for example, in the layout needed for the leaflet, because it has to be a certain size and a certain proportion. And then also, if we want to then go on and make prints, it has to be a certain proportion as well. So majority of the time actually is in the planning and the laying out and having the tracing paper. Is it going to fit? Looking at maps, how can I squidge this all together? And that's the case with most of the walking trails I've done. It's if you actually did it to scale, or in a scale, but in the proportions that it was, it wouldn't fit anything. So you have to kind of get it in and have it so it kind of looks visually pleasing as well. It's got to all make sense.
Gosh.
So I kind of get the outline and the layout. Right, this is the composition, what it's going to look like. This is where, and then we had a list of all the things we wanted to include. So all the different buildings. Then I had to get photographs of all the different buildings and then sketch out what they were going to look like. So, for example, we've got all these tiny little icons of, that it's going to look like this. The books are going to go there, and there's a tree, and it looks like this, and is everybody happy with that? And all these different layouts. Put it all together. And then I agree, obviously, with a client. I agree every stage, so I know that I'm going along the right lines. And put it all together. Then when they're happy with the layout and the sketch, that's when I then get the watercolour paper out. Start doing it properly in pencil. And I kind of have 3 stages. I start with pencil. That gets approved. And then I ink it. So I use permanent ink, because that's how I like to do my pictures, with ink and watercolour. Then when I've done the ink and that's all fine, you then have to stretch the paper. And because the originals, you can see, are a reasonable size, you have to soak the paper. So I literally fill the bath. And then I put the pictures in the bath. And that's when you think, oh God, I hope I used water resistant. The right ink. And it also, that's fine. So you leave it in there to soak, and then you pull it out of the bath and lay it on your board and tape it down the edges, because obviously with watercolour paint, there's a lot of water in it. If you don't stretch the paper, it will ripple the paper and it will ruin it. So then you have to leave it to dry. And so then I have the board with the paper and the inked drawing, so all the outlines, and that's when I then start painting. So it's hours of work before you get to that point and make sure that everything's fine, because everything has to be perfect by the time you do the pen, because once you put the pen down, you
There's no
can't
going
change
back.
it. Exactly,
No.
there's no going back.
Gosh, what a process. Right, let's have a look at some of these lovely spots. So we've been to the church in Steventon.
Yep.
Which is here somewhere.
Here?
There. That's it. Let me get my bearings. So, from where, when you do this trail, where do you actually start?
Here.
Ah, so this
you
is where
start
it
here because
starts.
this is the trail.
Yeah.
You can get the leaflet
Yeah.
with all the trail and
Yeah.
everything. It takes you around. So
That
you
makes
start
sense.
in Overton.
Now I know where Steventon is. I can get
Exactly.
my
Then we've got Overton.
bearings. Yeah, okay.
Because there's parking in Overton up at the hill.
Yeah.
There's also the train station.
Yeah,
So that's
of
quite a
course.
good place to
Yeah,
start.
yeah.
So you come down to Overton and you start there, and the walking trail is the red.
Yeah.
Cycle trail is the blue. So if we did the walking trail,
Yeah.
it goes to the church
Yeah.
and the home of Jane Austen, which was her brother.
Yeah.
And takes you all around Flashets, which is just this amazing part of the River Test.
Oh.
And that's her having a picnic, because these are things that were in her letters.
Yeah.
So just having a picnic there with family. And it always comes down here to the old manor house, Quidhampton Chapel, brings you down towards Polehampton, across the Test, down here to this very sad location, which is where Mrs. Lefroy, so if people,
Yeah.
if they're Jane Austen followers, they'll have heard of
Yeah.
Mrs.
They're
Lefroy. She
good-
was a really
good
good friend.
friends, yeah.
And she died, she came off her horse here at this point here at the top of
Gosh.
Overton Hill, which is really, really sad. So you can come down to there. This also takes you along over the source of the River Test to Ash,
Yeah.
Ash Parsonage, and Ash Church is all here. It's really, really lovely. Across the road, there's a couple of ways you can go around. You can
Yeah.
go around this way to Dean House, which again,
Oh,
she used to
yeah.
go to balls at
Yeah.
Dean House. Down here across the road, down towards, this is still here, formerly the Deangate Inn. It's now a restaurant, but you can stop there for a drink.
Okay.
Cheesedown Farm is the farm that her dad rented and worked at, her father.
Yeah.
This is them moving with her mother on the back of a cart. This is something that actually happened. They're moving down the road.
Wow.
Down then towards Steventon. And these buildings are all still there, obviously down here. This is where she was born, at the site of the rectory, which is no longer there. It's just
and
a field.
she spent most of her life here, didn't she?
Her first 25 years.
years,
Yeah.
so a good chunk of her
Exactly.
life, yeah.
And this is the church where her father was the rector, so she would have
Yeah.
worshipped there. She'd have been there a long time. And it's actually a really lovely place to go. There's the church has got the graves, obviously, of
Yeah.
James and etc. in the churchyard.
Yeah.
And we come back up through Steventon, back around the fields, back up to here, which is the busy B3 400
Yeah.
between Overton and
Yeah.
Basingstoke.
Yeah.
But you can cross it quite safely.
Yeah.
Back up to Ash and then back down into
okay.
Overton. So it's quite a good circular walk. It's really nice.
End up at the pub.
Obviously, you've got a pub. Yeah, there's a few pubs. There's
There are,
There's
yeah.
a few pubs, cafes. Overton is a great base because
It
it's
is.
a really good place to finish as well.
Yeah. Lovely. He knows to knows with anything. Come on, love.
Hang on, hey, this way.
Oh,
That's it.
Yeah,
there we go.
There
we are. That's better. That's where we were before.
Time, yeah. Oh, good boy.
Continuity.
I know.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Oh, you're welcome.
That's lovely finding all that out, and
Thank you for having me.
Stock the new prints as
Yeah,
well.
brilliant. Thank you.
Exciting.
Thanks, everyone.
Let's have a look. See
Right.
what we can see.
In
that
terms
we know.
of the trail, so if we started at Overton, for example, we've got. Oh no! This way was such a good idea. I know, because we're not going to. No, shush. Oh,
Christmas outtake.